Well, good evening, and welcome to this month's 21st Century Teaching and Learning Committee broadcast. And this evening, our topic of conversation is digital citizenship, and we have some featured guests that have already been engaging Mrs. Lester and I around the table. I'm Dr. Barbara Russell, and I serve as the Assistant Superintendent here in Perkiomen Valley. And with me here is Mrs. Jessica Lester, and she is our Manager of Community Communications. She helps all of our parents and our community members to be informed of what's happening in our schools. So she's going to walk us through some things this evening. In addition to digital citizenship, we're going to talk a little bit about a transition for our elementary families to an online report card, and that'll be happening for the first trimester. So we'll talk to you a little bit about that process, what it looks like, and how you can navigate to get to your child's progress in the system. And we'll also talk to you about our Google expansion project, something that we're undergoing district-wide and what that means for our students and our staff. And then we'll talk with our featured guests about digital citizenship and how they're learning more about some of the appropriate choices and some of the things that we need to think about as we become ever more digital with the resources that we're using in classrooms as well as how we're interacting with information. So before I begin to speak, I'd like to ask our guests to introduce themselves, if that's okay. So I'll start here.
Emily,
Emma,
Abigail, Casey.
And these four young ladies all attend Middle School West as sixth graders, and they have agreed to join us tonight and participate in the conversation with us about some of the things that they think about as they use technology resources. So to begin our conversation, we're going to back up. We're going to start with elementary report cards, and we want you to be informed about this shift. So this year, and maybe about 2 weeks ago, if you're an elementary parent, you received a letter that provided you, it was actually an email, provided you with a username and password that allows you access into our Home Access Center, or HAC, in our student information system. And hopefully you found the information that came with that email and the username and password credentials to be helpful and allowed you to gain access to the system to try it out. Mrs. Lester is here tonight. She's going to walk us through actually step by step what you might do and how you can navigate to get to your child's information. If you have an older child, a child that's in middle school or high school, you will use the same username and password to access your elementary child's information in HAC. You'll just have to change the student, your child that you're looking at. So we'll talk to you more about that. So we'll begin the conversation tonight with that topic, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Lester.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Russell. We just wanted to provide some screenshots, some navigation tools for you, for those of you who may not be familiar yet with Home Access Center, so that you know where to go, what buttons to click on when you're trying to locate your child's report card information. So if you've never visited HAC before, there are two different ways you can get there. From our school district website, which is pvsd.org, in the right-hand side under the links box, there is a direct link right to Home Access Center. Or you can just bookmark that link into your browser and access the site from there. And then this is the login screen that will appear when you start off. And as Dr. Russell mentioned, you should have gotten an email with both your username and password. If for some reason you can't locate that email, or it got lost in the shuffle, you can certainly contact your school building to get that information, or you can email hack@pvsd.org and we'll help get you set up that way. And then from there, you're going to log in and you're going to find these icons across the top of your screen, and you would select the grades button. And I guess I should point out that that isn't always visible until we turn grades on. So, if you go in to log in now, you're not going to see it. It won't, turn on until we're ready. Secondary level is sooner than elementary, correct?
Right. So that's a good point. And I have a question to ask you to point out some information for our viewers. Secondary HAC opens tomorrow at noon. So if you have a child anywhere from 6th grade through 12th grade, you'll have access to their information tomorrow beginning at 12 noon. Now, if you are the parent of an elementary child in grades 3 through 5, do I have access, if I'm the parent of a child, to HAC right now?
Yes, you have access, but again, don't, not to grades until we turn them on. So you
Right.
can see classes and any of these other things that are showing up on the screen, but the grades icon won't appear until we're ready to release those. So.
Right. Share the report card.
All right, and
So what you could see right now, if you're a parent of a child in 3rd through 5th, is how your child is doing all along the trimester. So
Assignments
some
and-
of you may have already accessed Hack, and for that purpose. But once we turn on the report card, which will happen in December, about the middle of December actually, you'll also be able to see your child's report card. Now, what Mrs. Lester is going to point out is how you get to that and how it looks. It'll look a little bit different. But some of you may already be in and out of Hack on a regular basis.
So this next screen shows you what a report card would look like. Some of the first things that you'll see in the top, and this kind of scrolls down. I was just taking a top half of look at the report card, and you kind of would follow across the column to see how your child did in each of these different areas. I'm going to go up a slide here. And I just wanted to explain in greater detail what these columns represent. The T1 and the T2 stand for the trimester, and the CM1 or CM2 stands for the comment that a teacher might leave for your child. And there is a legend at the bottom of the page that would explain, what the numbers mean. And then, so these are all the standards that. The core standards that we're evaluating students on, and then the numbers correspond to the standard, and then below the standard are the skills that support students achieving that standard or their progress toward that standard, correct?
Right, yes.
For each of these, there will be different indicators here. So for writing, you're going to have a number that will indicate, that's basically the grade. So it's 4 through 1. Maybe Dr. Russell, you could explain the differences between a 4, 3, 2, and a 1.
Sure. I can do that right now. So at the elementary level, we use a standards-based grading system. And what will be reported out for your child, just as you've seen on the paper copy, if you've received one in the past, is your child will receive a 3 if they're meeting the expectations of the standards. Those are the learning targets for our students. And students who are demonstrating proficiency in the area of a standard category, and for example, we have a writing standard category up right now, they'll receive a 3. If they're exceeding the expectations, the grade level expectations of that standard, then you will see a 4 on your child's report card. If they're struggling to demonstrate proficiency, you may see a 2. And that indicates to us that we need to do some additional things to support your child. And you may, in addition to some of those numbers across the top, right across from that standard, that's the numbered terminology, you may see some indicators to the skills or the competencies. And these are the areas of focus for our teachers and our students. And there are times when teachers report out because a student is doing really well, developing in a particular skill area, or has shown some improvement, or may be needing some additional support. So these things are communicated to you with the number system as well as the letter system. And as Mrs. Lester said, I know it's difficult to see the details of what we're describing, most likely from where you are. It's similar to what you saw last year, and there is a key, there is a legend available so that these things will be defined for you. And certainly, if at any time you have questions, please reach out to your child's teacher, of course.
And so the letters are reserved to describe the skills. And there'll be an M, an E, a P, and an L. So, and that's for exceeding, meeting, and
progressing towards, yes, or limited progress.
And then we have a section on the report card similar to the printed one called Approaches to Learning. And for these categories, you're going to see a check plus, or a check minus to indicate your child's progress. One of the nice features of the system is that you'll be able to access older versions of report cards once we get further into the school year. So under the report card tab, you can tap on this little arrow and then select between different grade reporting periods. And then there is a function if you wanted to print what you're seeing on the screen. It's up in the right-hand corner here, and you just hit print, and you're able to access your report card that way. And I just wanted to point out, too, that if this was too hurried of a presentation, we do have video tutorials online that are available to help parents, again, walk you through the process of what all of these different letters, numbers mean. You can find them by going to the Parents tab on our website and then selecting the Home Access Center folder, and you'll find some links to videos in there that might help you if you need a little bit of extra help.
Thank you, Mrs. Lester. So as Mrs. Lester mentioned, this was sort of a quick introduction, more formal introduction than maybe what you're reading online on the curriculum Facebook page, as part of our Twitter feed. We will be continuing with that communication to families so that you have a greater understanding of this transition, and if you have questions, that you know who to reach out to for those questions so that you get answers. A couple of points before we shift from the online report cards. I just want to mention that our 5th grade students receive a letter grade in math. So we were talking about the numbers and the numerical system that's used to report out on the standards. Our 5th graders receive a letter grade, and that more traditional 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, and so on. So you'll see that for your 5th grade student in math only. And additionally, this year, as part of our work in math, our district has adopted a new resource. And the way that the resource moves our students through the curriculum means that some of the categories in math in the younger grades will not be reported out on this first trimester, and that will be indicated with an X. That's just because your child hasn't been exposed to that information yet. For example, geometry. Geometry may not have been covered the first trimester for your child, depending upon which grade he or she is in, and therefore you'll see an X. So don't be surprised if you see that X. And as I mentioned, we'll have some additional information that comes to you to review the information we've shared this evening. It felt like it was pretty fast. We want to continue that conversation and, again, offer you the opportunities to pose questions via different venues. So if it's okay, we're going to shift from online report cards at the elementary level and talk about some other ways in which the district is expanding its use of digital resources and what it does online with students. And one of the next sort of quick topics we'll touch upon is our expansion in the area of Google and using Google and the apps that come with it, the Google App Suite, or the G Suite, as it's called. The name has changed a couple times, in our classes to support teaching and learning. And our students are going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But I wanted you to know some additional specifics about our use of Google. We are expanding that use to include email addresses and accounts for all of our students, K through 12, in January 2017. So right now, that's a project that we're working on, and we're preparing our systems on the back end, if you will, and we're preparing our students and our staff and beginning the conversation with you this evening to let you know that your child, kindergarten through grade 12, will get a Gmail address account with a pvsd.org domain address. So even though it's through the Gmail platform, it will be a pvsd.org email address, just as if you would email Mrs. Quintangeli or I. And thank you for joining us, Mrs. Quintangeli. Mrs. Quintangeli is the librarian at Middle School West and has the pleasure of working with these 4 students on a regular basis. She's joining us, and she'll be sharing some information with us in a few minutes, too. But just so that you have the information about that, we will be talking to our students about what it means to have an email account. And they'll be communicating with other students in our school district, with their teachers. Students in grades 9 through 12 will have the added capability of emailing outside of our PVSD domain. Students younger than 9th grade will not. It is just an internal email account. so that we can email with one another. And that's really for the purpose of opening communication and extending our abilities to work together, to collaborate, and share information via that system. As part of that project, I just want to note that you will be prompted as a parent of an elementary student to sign off on an updated acceptable use policy. If you are the parent of a secondary level student, students will sign off on this as well. But we'll talk more about that. Again, wanted to introduce that topic to you tonight and prepare you for some additional communication that will come out about this new Gmail project and our Gmail addresses for all of our students and staff district-wide. And we'll talk more about how they're used as we move forward. But with our expanded use of resources online comes the importance of helping our students to know how to make good choices when they're working online. So some of the work that Mrs. Quintangeli leads with her students is about just that. And she teaches a digital literacy course to all sixth graders that move through West. And the same course is taught to sixth graders at East. And we've invited some of her students to join us tonight. And we've already had a very enjoyable conversation with these young people. So we're looking forward to it. To help you understand what they're learning about and how they think about digital citizenship, and actually how they're using technology and what they do with these resources. So we'll learn a little bit from their perspective, and then we'll talk to you from our perspective about what's important and what we continue to work on and focus on with our students so that we help them to develop as good digital citizens. Had a very enjoyable conversation with these young people. So if I can, I'd like to start the conversation by posing to the girls, if that's all right, what technology resources do you use at this point? We talked about Google already, but what resources do you use and for what purpose?
We use Google Slides a lot because it helps you organize your work and it helps you put your information in a way you can present to people.
Okay, so you're using an app in Google. And what class do you do that in?
Science.
Science? How about the two of you use that? Do you use Google Slides?
Right now I'm working on a project on Google Slides.
Are you? Okay. So what are some other resources that you use?
Google Docs, because it's something where you can make documents and you can write about different topics on it, about different topics and yeah.
Okay, and you can share that with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has access to the Google Drive. So you're able to designate who you want to share a particular document with or a Google slide presentation with. Is that right? And does that help you as you're trying to complete your work?
Yeah.
And does it help you to learn when you can work with other students like that?
Yeah.
That's good. So what sorts of devices or tools do you use?
We use Chromebooks.
Do you?
In social studies we use Chromebooks and iPads because we don't have enough for everyone.
Okay.
And
Okay. Anything different?
Not me.
I want to give everyone a turn. Okay, that's great. So Emma, do you use those tools too?
Yeah, in math we usually use iPads too.
Oh, do you? Okay. And do they help you learn in math?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What did you use in digital literacy class?
MacBooks.
Yeah.
Okay, we introduced our students to MacBooks in 6th grade, just to give them the understanding of a different platform. So a lot of them were used to using PCs, and so we compared a PC with a Mac. And so what do you think? Did you like using the Macs?
I thought it was easier than a computer. I thought it was confusing at first, but then once we watched the video on how to use what all the tools were for, then it became a little easier.
Okay, yeah, there were some things that were a little different. Cutting and pasting and scrolling was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it helped us a lot watching the video and how you taught us how to press different keys to do different things and how, like you said, to scroll, and it made things easier on MacBooks.
So as you get older, you have to learn how to be flexible. So you might have different devices and you have to learn to use all different devices. So when you use the Chromebook, it's a little different than using the Mac. But so you've had exposure to PCs, to Chromebooks, to iPads. Anything else?
Graphing calculators? Are you using those yet?
No.
No.
No,
We
Okay.
did in the
They're
one
coming.
class, we did use the one kind of computers that wasn't working for us. I don't know what it was called, but we used the one computer. Remember?
In the library?
Yeah, no, it was in the classroom.
The regular desktop
Yeah.
computers. Okay.
We used those, and it was confusing us because we were using the MacBooks a lot.
Okay.
So we kept doing the wrong things on the wrong type of technology.
Okay, but you're becoming very versatile because you're getting experience with lots of different resources or devices, and that's probably a really positive thing for you. That's great. So let me ask you a question. Do you use your technology resources, and when you're working in your classes learning about science or math or social studies, do you go out to the internet to get information?
Okay, so like we go out to the internet, but then we have to make sure we have to check the copyright.
Okay. All right, so hold that thought. So you're going out to the internet to get information.
Well, it depends what app we're using.
Okay.
Like Google Slides, there you can actually go. You can go on to this search bar, and it's all filtered. So.
Okay, so that's a good thing. So that's another key word. How about over here? Do you go out to the internet? Do you do
Yeah.
searches on the internet?
And when we go out to search on like Google and stuff, we go to like the bar, like the top, and we can use tools and stuff, and we can
Okay.
change it to be sorted by copyright, so we can use pictures and not have like copyright laws and stuff that you have to take care of, I guess.
Okay, all right. So,
Yeah, Emily's talking about when we searched for images, we went up to the search tools and we made sure that the license was free to use so that they didn't use copyrighted images. And then we practiced, we started to practice citing the sources, but our time was very short in digital literacy class, so we had to really compact that in. But through the year, they'll be using Noodle tools to cite their sources, using websites, and also the databases that we have at school. So have you used the databases this year yet in any of your classes? Research is just getting started. So in elementary school, what database did you use?
I don't think we used any.
Well, we did.
Do you remember
We,
World Book?
oh yeah, we used
Yeah,
it
I don't
We
think
kind
we
of use that. We only used it,
like once or twice.
yeah, a couple times.
Okay.
so as you get older and you move through the grades, 6th grade, it sounds like you're going to move to research. You're going to be doing more searching on the internet. And I'm wondering, does anybody use social media? Do any of you have a social media account of any sort?
Yeah.
Are you okay to share what you have?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you have? What do you use?
Instagram and Musical.ly.
Okay, so you use Instagram. That's pretty common.
And Snapchat.
And
Yeah,
Snapchat. Okay. So not only are you consuming information when you go out and research to learn things, you're producing. You're putting information out on the internet, right?
Yeah.
When you post things on Instagram or Snapchat. So when you do that, when you do those two things, when you consume information or when you produce it, what do you need to think about? What are some of the things that you're learning are really important about consuming information or producing it? I've already heard you talk about copyright laws and making sure that you give credit to the individual who's responsible for writing something or taking a picture. But what else do you need to think about? What else are you learning about?
Do you remember we talked about your digital footprint?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What does your digital footprint mean?
So like, I don't really know how to explain it. Like,
Once a picture is posted online, is it easy to?
no, like a lot of people already saw it. So.
And you can't really like. Well, you can delete it, but like after like a lot of
People could have
see-
screenshotted it,
Yeah.
saved it.
Yeah, or they could see like if you were at like a football game or something, they could see where you were, and they could give them clues to where you are and maybe where you live or something.
So Mrs. Quintangeli, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that as sixth graders move through sixth grade and then seventh and eighth grade, at the middle level, what our students are learning about to become and develop as digital citizens? What's in the curriculum for them?
We base our sixth grade digital literacy curriculum on the Common Sense Media curriculum, but we also add to it and change it just a little bit. So some of the major topics that we cover are digital footprint. We make sure they understand that they know anytime they go online, their information is recorded. Here we go. We start out the class with digital citizenship. So we talk about being a citizen in the community, and we have a poster back here from the International Society of Technology for Education. We talk about being a good citizen in person and how that looks digitally. Then we talk about the digital footprint. We discuss cyberbullying, which is a big topic in middle school, and how they can protect themselves against it, what to do, how to help other students. We talk about online safety, and I think our students here will discuss a poster that they made and that talks about online safety. Copyright includes Creative Commons, which is another type of copyright license, and we talk about plagiarism to make sure that they do give credit and don't take someone else's ideas and present them as their own. Identity theft is a big topic that we discuss because it's important for students to be aware that when they're online,
Yes.
other people might be trying to get their information. What did we talk about? How a very young person could own, like a 5-year-old can own a car. How can that be? When we talked about identity theft.
Because they could have like stole or like take their like parents' license or something.
You have that special number,
Yeah,
that
their
you're getting-
security code.
social security
Yeah.
number. Yeah, so we read an article about social security numbers and all the different pieces of information and how someone can put that all together and actually purchase a car or a home in a young person's name and how that's so hard to undo. So identity theft is something that even students have to think about. And phishing is another big topic that we talk about. The phishing email scams. When you see an email and something looks too good to be true, it usually is. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I can hold your poster up, and can you paraphrase? Now, this is a poster that all 4 of you worked on to try and highlight some of the things that you think about when you consider online safety. Is that right? So can you, Emma, can you share with us some of the things that you thought about, that you put down?
We said like don't share pictures of like private information of others, like don't share private like information like pictures and stuff of others.
Okay. Something else? What else did you point out here on this poster? What else came to mind?
The do's and don'ts.
Okay, the do's and don'ts. Okay, so we've talked about some of those. What's the first one that comes to your mind?
Like for like a do, like if someone's being mean or they're like saying bad words or just bad, like to tell an adult, like a trusted adult or like a parent or like your guardian or something, or
Okay.
someone you can trust.
Great, good to hear. How about a don't? Do you have a don't that you can share with us? Something that comes to mind? Abigail's
Boy.
helping you.
What's it called? Know who you're playing with online, like on games. Like you can play with like different people. You should know like who you're playing with. Like so, like you know, like the phone that we made, like their ages are kind of different. Cause we saw a video of there was 2 people. They were like talking, and the one person lied about their age, and then they were going to like hang out, but then the guy ended up to be much older than he said he was. And they shouldn't say their ages because then that can like lead to your birthday, and then your birthday isn't like good to hand out to other kids or like other people.
Great, good. I'm glad that you're well aware of that, Casey. So it's interesting to me. All of you have mentioned lots of different things, resources, tools, activities that you do online in this electronic or digital world. So it's really important that you think about those do's and don'ts. the things that you can do and that are okay to do, as well as the things that you shouldn't do or really be careful about. So it's great that you're learning those things this year. And I know that that learning will continue through middle school. In your other classes, as you work with Mrs. Quintangeli through the years, you'll continue to learn and develop as a digital citizen. I know that we have Mr. Silver here from the elementary level, and maybe we can touch upon just a little bit of the curriculum at the elementary level. So digital citizenship curriculum doesn't start here in middle school in 6th grade, but actually begins as soon as our students touch a device. There are things that are shared with them. There are suggestions, there are points, there are learning targets that we help them to meet so that, again, they're making good choices in this digital world. So maybe we can touch base with Mr. Silver for a minute. He's seated away from us in another spot, so Dr. Parr is going to pan over to him. So maybe you could summarize for us, Mr. Silver, just very briefly, some of the things that you focus upon and think about as you're leading very young students in using these resources.
Okay, so a lot of what we do actually leads to what they're doing at the middle school. So starting with kindergarten, we talk about keeping personal information safe. That's a really important thing. So a lot of us tie to don't talk to strangers outside. Same thing on the computer, don't talk to strangers. We stress a lot of if something makes you feel sad or uncomfortable or scared online, go to a trusted adult. That's our big push is go to a trusted adult. We do talk about other internet safety as the students get older. We talk about cyberbullying and what steps to take in case you see that happening to yourself or to someone else. Again, you should go to a trusted adult. We do bring up a digital footprint also. We talk to that with the 4th and 5th graders about, since they're on some of these social media sites already, hopefully with permission from parents, that they're on those sites, but what they put out there is out there, and it can be screenshot. We also talk to our students about how can you do positive things that are online, because we know digital footprint can be good and bad. So what are some ways you can promote good digital citizenship by a good digital footprint out there? And we do touch them with the older students, again, citing resources. We talk about copyright laws and fair use of images and other information you find on the internet. So a lot of what we do really leads to the same message they're going to get in middle school, in high school, and hopefully through life.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Silver. And maybe, Mrs. Quintangeli, if I could sort of begin to conclude the conversation with you, what is it we hope our students know and are able to demonstrate in the area of digital citizenship by the time they leave middle school and head to high school? Can you share with us some of the things that as a middle school staff we think about?
I think we believe that middle school is a time for students to practice with a safety net, some of the responsibilities of being an adult and being able to interact in the world. We talk about how there are different levels of consequences when you plagiarize, for example, how that changes. So as an elementary student, if they take someone else's ideas, then maybe they just have to redo the work. In middle school, we have them redo the work. In high school, they may get a 0. When they get to college, the consequences build. So I believe that in middle school, our philosophy is that we're teaching our students to become independent, responsible, contributing adults in our society. So we look at the different digital citizenship points here. Treat others with respect online, do not steal or damage others' properties, make appropriate decisions when communicating online. We talk about clear communication, so we want them to write complete ideas so that they're very clear communicators. Make responsible online purchasing, so they may not have credit cards right now, but we do talk about that and get them to start thinking about being online. Upholding basic human rights, and that goes right into the cyberbullying. So standing up and saying something if they see something or they know, talking about a trusted adult just like they talk about in elementary school. We really do reiterate a lot of what they learn in elementary school and help them to look towards the future for what their responsibilities will be as they become adults.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Girls, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Casey, Abigail, Emily, and Emma. Thank you. We really appreciated your perspective. Before we actually close for the night, I want to just allow Mrs. Quintangeli to point out one other thing. You know, you have developed a comprehensive web page for the Middle School West Library, and I thought maybe you could share that with our viewers. Again, as one of our final closing comments, because it's truly comprehensive and it touches upon a lot of the different things that we mentioned tonight. So maybe you want to talk just briefly about that.
So, thank you, Dr. Russell.
Yeah.
So, if you go to the Middle School West website, pvsd.org, and then hover over schools, go to West, and then hover over departments, you can get to the library page, and we have a digital citizenship tab. What I've done is collected resources from some of our federal government resources, Common Sense Media, Apple, Google, YouTube, all different areas. And in our digital literacy class, we go through very fast, right? We go through like one topic a day. So we start with the topics and then we provide resources so that they can, is it glaring? Okay, so that they can go a little bit deeper. So at the end of the class, we give them the opportunity to express themselves, what they learned and what is most important to them. So Emily, Emma, Abby, and Casey decided to focus on online safety. Well, we have resources right here on the library page where they can get resources for online safety. Some of our other students decided to make videos. We have the green screen app on the iPad, which is really a nice new app that the students have used. So we have some of those projects that we will put online to share with you. So we have them go to these resources, which are available to anyone at any time.
That's great. So thank you for that, and I appreciate that they're available to anyone. So I apologize, I started to close out too soon, didn't I? By mentioning your names and thanking you. Is there anything you'd like to offer before we close out for tonight? Anything you'd like to share about digital citizenship? Anything that maybe you're thinking about? Okay, that's okay. You did a great job tonight. Thanks for contributing and sharing in the conversation. Emily, Emma, Abigail, and Casey, thank you. Mrs. Lester, thank you. Mr. Silver, thank you for coming in and sharing a perspective from the elementary level. Mrs. Quintangeli, of course, thank you, and for recruiting our featured guests. And Dr. Parr, thank you for your work behind the scenes on the camera. Okay, one last plug, and I was prompted to share this with you, so I appreciate the team over there in the back. We are hosting a screening of a movie called Screenagers on November 30th at 6:30 at Middle School East in the Spar Auditorium. And that's a movie really about, from a parent's perspective, how our children are developing and maybe using technology devices, maybe engaging with social media or gaming. And it may be something that you find informative, that you find interesting. It's open to the public, it's free of charge, and we're really encouraging anybody with a child in 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th grades to consider attending. And again, walk away hopefully feeling better informed about some of the things we can think about or that we can do to help our students develop as responsible citizens in this digital world we live. So stay tuned for that. Lots of information was shared this evening. There will be more information in summary format that appears on our website. Please check the curriculum web pages. We will also be communicating with you in other ways, additional information about the online reporting system, the online report cards at the elementary level, and we'll be sharing more information about those Gmail accounts that will become available to our students and staff in January. And thank you again for the contributions to digital literacy and digital citizenship. So for now, we'll close out tonight and look forward to seeing you in December when we hope to have another topic and be informative for you. Thank you for tuning in, or thank you for watching if you tune in at a later date. Good night.